Hi there. My name is Kenneth Kragle. I'm an author and illustrator, and welcome to my studio. I'm an author and illustrator of picture books. I have done, let's see, Wild Honey from the Moon, Green Pants, um, The Song of Delphine, King Arthur's Very Great Grandson, and then coming in this September, this is a book of shapes. So I was talking to my friends at Schuler Books here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, a wonderful, wonderful bookstore. And they were saying they'd like me to make some videos that they could send out to you, all of you kids who are stuck at home because there's no school. So what we decided we would do is we would make one picture over a week. Every day this week, starting today, we'll work on an illustration, one part of an illustration, so that by Friday you'll have a finished illustration. Okay? So let's get started. Okay? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw a frame. It's something I really like to do. Um, in some of my books, I've made frames. In Wild Honey from the Moon, which was my last book, we made. I made a lot of frames, and I loved it. So I'll show you a quick way to make a frame, and then we'll start on our illustration. The easiest way to do it is to make a quick frame is just to take two books, one that's bigger than the other. So we'll start here with Judy Blume's Fudgemania and trace it out. I'm using a pencil because if I used a pen and I didn't, I might get some ink on the book, and we want to preserve our books here. Okay, so I just kind of lay the smaller book inside the rectangle that we drew, and presto, there we go. There is our frame. And the thing about frames is they kind of want something to be inside of them. They're kind of like, look at me. That's what frames do. So we'll just make some squiggles here. And come up with some kind of, what should we make here? There, we made something in our frame. What should we call this creature here? How about let's call it a rumpus. We'll make a little nameplate here. Rumpus. There we go. So that's our first frame. Now let's get serious and start working on our illustration, okay? When I say illustration, I assume you know what I mean. An illustration is a picture that is illustrating something. So for my picture books, the pictures, the illustrations are helping tell the story, and that's what illustrations can do. So if I was going to make I could use bigger books to make the frame, but I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to use rulers. That's how I make my frames for my books, is I use rulers. And I have one special ruler. I bought this a long time ago. I think it only cost $1. And it was my favorite ruler. I use it all the time. So right now I'm just tracing out in pencil our first rectangle, and then I'll make a smaller rectangle inside of it. So this ruler is 1 inch wide, which is another reason I like it. That's a handy measurement. And we'll just trace around here. This pencil that I'm using is soft lead. It's an 8B, which means it's pretty soft lead. And the nice thing about the reason that you would use a pen with soft, or a pencil with a soft lead, is when you want to make nice dark lines like this. Like if you're drawing something in all pencil, soft lead gives you nice dark lines. The reason I'm using it is just so that you can see my pencil lines really well. Normally I would trace this out in harder lead, which is easier to erase. That's why you use soft lead. Okay, I want to show you, I have these erasers that I love, and I just want to show them to you before we go any further. This is my normal eraser. This is just a regular eraser. But then these have, the eraser part is just like a little almost like a tube stuck in there. And you can just click them out. And the reason that they're so handy is because so often there's just one little part of my drawing that I want to erase. And with these, I can get into tight little areas. This one is so small, I can get into really tight areas and just clean it up without having to mess up any of the other drawing. So once we've erased our lines here, we'll go ahead and make this frame with the marker now. If I was going to draw really straight lines, I would use a different pen, a pen that has a smaller line and a ruler like this. And this is how I do it when I'm making an illustration for a book. So I line it up like that. I hold the ruler down pretty tightly, and then I just draw. So I get a nice line like that. But that doesn't work as well using the Sharpie that I'm using now, because the Sharpie has a bigger tip, and it kind of it would leave a mark on the ruler. So I'm just going to draw this freehand. When I'm drawing straight lines like this, or even important parts in an illustration, I always kind of want to make sure there's nothing behind my elbow that I'm going to bump, or anything on the table here that's going to make me waver and draw a squiggle in my line. Sometimes when you're making a picture, you want things to look very straight and tight, and other times you want it to look like it's a hand-drawn line. So it's kind of what you're looking for too. There's something about a hand-drawn line that's kind of appealing. It's kind of, I would say, warmer. But a very straight line is so clean and nice that can work well for other situations. Okay, after we're done with this line, then we just want to talk about what we're going to do with the frame. There are different ways to sort of decorate frames. I'll show you one here. This is an illustration, or this is a frame that I made for Wild Honey from the Moon. Let me just show it to you. This is the table of contents. And this is the frame I made that got me so excited about frames. Because I put these little pictures here in the corners. And I just thought that was so much fun. The pictures kind of tell a little bit of the story of the whole book. So I also made a few examples of possible frame ideas for our project here. So we could do stripes, could do the whole frame in stripes. We could do the whole frame in polka dots, or we could do polka dots and stripes. And of course we could do all kinds of other things too. So let's see, what should we do here? I think what I have this idea, like I showed you in that frame for the table of contents in Wild Honey from the Moon. I like to do something different with the corners here. So, whoops, I was going to do this in pencil first. There. Okay. So I'm just going to section off the corners. We'll do one thing with the corners and then one thing with the space in between here. And this ruler is 2 inches wide. And I find that a handy measurement as well. This ruler has a bunch of little lines in it, so if I wanted to line up 1 inch, I could just line up with this middle line, and then all these other little lines are really helpful too. They're helpful if you're really into making exact lines. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to do one thing with the corners, and I think what that will be is just dots. I like to make lots of dots. So I'm just going to fill this up with dots. I can spend sometimes most of my day making dots on an illustration. If I'm doing a something that's far off in the distance, I find that a bunch of dots gives it enough substance so that you notice it, but it's also it's not too overpowering. Usually when you draw things far in the distance, you don't want them to be too dark because you want your eyes to be drawn to whatever's up front, up close. Okay, I think what I'll do with the these other spaces, let's just draw one line down the middle, and I will use this ruler for that. These the space in between is 1 inch here, and so I'm just going to draw a 1/2 inch line like that. I'm just lining up the 1/2 inch mark here and drawing that. Now when you're finished with your frame, if you want to go ahead and color it in, go for it. I'm going to wait until Friday. That's when I'll be talking about color. But there's something about having a finished frame like this that's kind of fun. So if you want to go ahead and color it in, then you'll be that far ahead. Tomorrow we're going to add something to this frame. I think let's add a dog. We'll draw a dog, and we'll talk about sketching. Sketching is a way I figure out how to draw things. So there we have it. There's our frame. And now the next 4 days we'll be adding things to it. Thanks very much for listening and for joining me. And I will see you tomorrow when we start to fill in the frame. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.